This is 5 Minute Feng Shui Podcast, episode 97. Get off that losing streak. Welcome to the 5 Minute Feng Shui Podcast, where each week I talk about how to move energy and make money. You'll learn how to create a prosperous home and an abundant life using classical Chinese Feng Shui. I'm your host, Katie Weber, publisher of the Red Lotus Letter, Feng Shui Easing for Wealth. Each week, I'll cover Feng Shui topics that can help you improve your life, share inspiring stories, and always end with 3 easy-to-implement Feng Shui tips that you can put to work right away, and usually in about 5 minutes. Now let's get started on the 5 minutes that could change your life. Hello, and thank you for joining me today for this episode of 5 Minute Feng Shui. We're going to be talking about when things go wrong and when you just feel like you're on this losing streak. Now, I have to tell you, one of the things that really changed in my life was when I started paying attention to Feng Shui, but mostly when I saw a dramatic step was when I started practicing Feng Shui that took into account time. And I know we want to Feng Shui and forget it, but to be honest, that really will only take you so far, because our space and our home, our life doesn't live in a vacuum, right? Things happen. It's not like you can just move something and then time stands still. It doesn't. Time marches on and it changes, and there are changing energies. We're never the same from one minute to the next, yet we expect to get the same kind of results, or we expect the sameness from our home, and we expect this sort of same reliability in Feng Shui from month to month, year to year. But what I noticed was I could affect some changes in my life with Feng Shui, but when I started really looking at how Feng Shui was shifting and flowing with time, because really Feng Shui is a study of time and how it affects space. This is how it all began, is the study of Feng Shui began with grave sites, looking at what land formations and how people were buried and what that meant for their families, and how over time grave sites that were buried in or family plots that were chosen with certain landscape characteristics meant that it seemed that those families seemed to flourish. It's really weird to think of looking at where you're placed in death to see how a family could flourish in life, but that's actually how it began, was this study of grave site selection as having importance for the whole legacy of that family name. And over time, what began happening is studies were taken of houses of the living versus houses of the dead. And people started noticing that, houses that were oriented a certain way, built a certain way, had certain characteristics and features, just like the grave sites, that certain homes, if you were to say all things were equal, that people lived in particular types of homes and had certain characteristics, that those people seemed to excel in life. Things seemed to be easier for them. Things seemed to be better. You would see their life progressing. And others in other different types of homes and landscape characteristics, environmental landscape that was around those homes, and their orientation to water or mountains or whatever it was, that those houses may have had more difficulties, more problems, anything from health issues to marriages that failed, or children who didn't complete their education, or maybe had died in childbirth, something like that. And what they started to notice was these various characteristics of homes could have a big influence over lives. And so that's really how it began, as a study of time and space. So when we're talking about a losing streak, we want to think about what the time element is, what that aspect is, and how it can influence you. And I'm going to talk about how time can create a problem for you in where you had no problem before. So let's talk about some of the ways that you can experience difficulties and creates that sort of a losing streak kind of situation, and how you can handle it with Feng Shui. So, like right now, we're in COVID, and a lot of people are dealing with job losses, maybe even having to move out, and we're seeing that happen all over the world. Actually, people are losing their jobs. Maybe their business is going bankrupt. A spouse could die. A house sale could fall through. Maybe you get rear-ended, or you get a diagnosis of a serious illness. This is a streak of problems, and they can often feel like they're very hard to bounce back from. You know how that is, especially if they come in rapid succession. We find that, we can handle one or two things, but when it starts being 3, 4, 5, then it becomes a little daunting to manage that. Good luck, they always say, comes in pairs, but bad luck comes in 3s or 4s or 5s. Some people call it 3 on a match, which is considered to be bad luck. Maybe it's a coincidence of timing. Maybe it's feng shui. It could be your karma. Maybe there's an unfavorable planetary alignment if you're a follower of astrology. But really, no matter what the cause is of this streak, all you want to know is that you want it to end, right? So short of praying to saints or crawling into a hole or in bed with the covers pulled over your head, what can you do in feng shui to turn around a string of losses? And this is near and dear to my heart because I know a lot of people are dealing with losses right now, and I want to talk to you about feng shui as being an available option that can help you kind of change that momentum and change that energy, because that's really what we're talking about. Is once that momentum starts going with difficulties, we want to change that momentum to having a positive effect. So we want to take a good close look at your feng shui to try to shift some of that energy and begin that process of stemming those problems from showing up at your door in succession, and start bringing you opportunities, pleasant things that you want, things that are enjoyable. That's what we want to do, is stop those losses and turn that insecurity to stability and gain. So let's talk about that time feng shui that I was mentioning. What's really important to understand is that, like I said, time doesn't stay in a vacuum, and neither does your house. And what can happen is one year you have a great year, and next year it goes in the toilet. And that can even happen on a month. I've seen that happen where difficult energies, because of the monthly stars, the annual stars happen, and then maybe the monthly stars are really difficult. I've seen my mother has broken a leg and a hip, both when the 5 yellow landed at her door on the monthly star. It's bizarre, but that's exactly what happened. And the 5 yellow is a type of annual and monthly affliction that when it hits your front door, it can really create problems. In fact, it's called the bone breaker affliction, and quite literally for my poor mom, it actually did become a bone breaker. Now, obviously monthly stars are one of the things that we have to think about, because if those changes hit your front door or your bedroom, these are the two most important areas that you always want to have good feng shui with. You always want to make sure your front door looks good, it works well, it's neat and tidy, you don't have cobwebs on the light fixtures, and in your bedroom it's neat, it's tidy, it's attractive, the bed is made every day. Promise me you'll make that, because that can create a losing streak, that can create some yin energy. You always want to make your bed. It doesn't take 2 seconds to turn right around, pull those covers up, and put the pretty pillows on. I mean, do the whole thing, right? Don't just put, make the bed, but put some pretty pillows on it, decorator like. It doesn't have to be crazy, but just, make it really nice. That can make a big difference. But these stars, these energies that can come to your front door, that can come to your bedroom, they can be serious. We're dealing with the annual 7 star. It's called the reigning star of the year. That means that's the energy that has the widest influence, and it is the breathing star. It's the star that rules the lungs, and it's a negative star. It's a cutting star, and it's cutting off people from their jobs. It's cutting them off from their health. But we also have other energies, the 5 yellow that I mentioned. It's called the black 2, that can create just all kinds of problems and annoyances. Now, how do you handle that? Well, you need to know in advance and have a calendar or have some awareness of what's going to be coming. I do a monthly forecast every year, and if you want to check out that monthly forecast, it's only the annual forecast that has all the annual stars as well as the monthly. It's only $5. I mean, between having good luck and bad luck, I'll take that I'd spend that $5 a day in, a day out. I try to make it affordable. If you want monthly emails and updates from me, I have a $10 version. It's $9.97 or something, and I will send you emails and updates. It's so important to know what is happening when, so you can be prepared and be ready. And it's helped me to offset a lot of problems in my life. I really noticed a big dramatic shift and change in my life once I started paying attention to when those energies were coming to my front door, coming to my bedroom, coming to my living room, and coming to my office, as a matter of fact. So it's really important that you know when they're coming, where they're showing up, and especially if they're hitting your bedroom or your door. That can create a sort of a roll of the dice, or the dominoes can start falling. You know how that is. Once they start, they just keep going until they run their energy out. You don't want to do that. Let's talk about your bedroom too, because part of your losses could be draining your sleep. It can be draining you in your bedroom. It could be starting there. When you sleep, you're at your most vulnerable, right? You're asleep. You don't know what's going on. So you want to have a bedroom that really supports you. It has a headboard. It's up against a solid wall. There's not a toilet on the other side of the wall, or a shower or something like that. You are able to sleep in your bed and see the door from your bed. So important. People who have draining, losing energy are often aligned with a negative energy when they sleep. For instance, maybe their feet point out a window, or they're aligned with the bathroom door, or they're lined up with their bedroom door. This can cause serious loss of income, jobs. It can result in death. You're so vulnerable when you're asleep. So it's really crucial that you have a good solid wall behind you, a nice headboard, and your feet don't line up with a bathroom, a window. Window's not as bad as a door, but especially a bathroom or the door to your bedroom. One of the things that I saw personally was a particular house in this town where I had lived, and there were two owners of this house. And it had this master bedroom. It had this nice solid wall behind the bed. You could see the door from the bed, but you could also you had this wide sweeping view of the bathroom. That's because directly opposite the bed were two big doors that leading into the bathroom. There was this big grand bathroom with this big grand entrance, and the feet were pointed directly into the bathroom. Worse yet, directly opposite, as soon as you open those doors, there was the bathtub, this big, oval, big garden type tub, jacuzzi tub. And so what that meant was those feet were pointed, whoever slept in that bed had their feet pointed directly at a giant drain, a big giant drain. Both people that owned that house died of cancer. One had brain cancer, one had lung cancer, and they died quickly. And one was a mother of 5 kids. So this is really important. Check your bedroom. Make sure that, and here's another one. There was a man who was sleeping and had a job loss, and he looked across from the wall across from his bed, and there was a crack running down the wall. And it got repaired, and he found a new job. So look around in your bedroom. Look for cracks in walls. Make sure your feet aren't lined up with another door or the bathroom. So important that you check around, that there's not any harsh angles, like with pointed corners that are aimed at you while you're sleeping. If so, put a curtain over it. Try to put a canopy over your bed. Make sure that there's no beams over you. When you have draining sleep, this is when, and you have this energy that's negative, it compounds. It's worse when you're asleep to have negative energy, because it's compounded negative energy. So check your bedroom. Look at it carefully and thoroughly. Make sure that you don't have a red bedroom or big red, lots of red on your bed, because that can also be draining for you when you sleep. Also, we want to look at draining, losing views. If your home backs up and you have a view of a ditch, a culvert, or a drain, or some kind of major runoff area, your chi can sometimes run off with it. So try to block any ugly views. This could be any. Maybe you have neighbors with gutted out cars parked on the front lawn or something like that. Really, what is important to remember is that chi flows where the eye goes. And if your eye goes to a place of loss or downward flow or an ugly scene, that's where your energy goes to. So important too that when you open your front door, that there's not another door directly opposite, or that you can't see out the back of your house, because if you can, there goes all of your energy too. Make sure that you block any views that go outside of your house when you step in your front door, because if it goes out there, then your energy is going out too. So money losses could be a problem, relationship loss, all kinds, a loss of good name. Very important that you check that from your front door. So check your bed, check your front door, check your views. It's also important that you look behind. You want to know that you have a nice solid headboard behind your bed, like I was mentioning, but your home also needs good support. And the losing streak can be caused by what's behind you that's missing, like support or eroding support. For example, if there's a street directly behind your house and the cars are going back and forth right behind your house, this represents water. And a street directly behind your house represents, like, how you heard that saying, you should never turn your back to the ocean. Well, it's like having water behind your house, and it represents loss. We never want to have that water sort of symbol behind us, and roads are conductors of water. So that's how we look at that. Make sure that you block that view. Plant some shrubs across there. Plant some trees across there. Put up a fence. Block that view from behind the house. Or if you have land that is sloping, deeply sloping land that slopes away from the back of the house, that can also cause you to just struggle and trying to run up a greased hill, and you don't want to have that struggle. So add some plantings there that will help grow up and give you support, or a fence. It's really important. I see more people struggling, and they have many times no headboard behind their bed. Make sure that behind your bed that there's not a fireplace, a stove on the other side. Make sure that as you're sleeping, there's not a fireplace beneath you. There's not a toilet over you or a toilet beneath your bed. And when I say a toilet beneath you, I mean directly under your bed. So, for instance, I knew a woman who was trying to get pregnant, who got pregnant, and there were two miscarriages by her and her sister-in-law, who slept in the same bed while she was house sitting for her, and both of them lost babies. And they were on the second floor, and their fireplace was directly beneath the bed on the first floor. So make sure that you understand what's under your bed, what's behind your bed, and what's over your bed. Very, very important that you know that. Look also at new items. If you're on a losing streak and you brought something new into the house, especially antiques or used items, it could have predecessor energy. Many times people notice that problems begin after bringing something new into their house. Antiques and inherited or secondhand items carry their own energies. One person I knew in North Carolina created a new patio out of bricks that were recycled bricks. They're beautiful old bricks, but as it turned out, they came from an old building that had housed slaves. And as soon as the patio was installed, she began having all kinds of problems. She realized, she did a little investigating into these bricks, which were sold at a premium price because they were antique bricks. And when she found out that where they came from, she realized, I need to get rid of these, and they need to go, and I need to get out, take this whole new patio that she'd installed out and replace it with new pavers. And she did. She eventually tore it out and put new pavers, and let those old bricks go. They can have things have energy, so we want to look at anything that you've brought into the house that has energy, especially if you know Like, for instance, we all have relatives that, maybe are not just the greatest people, and maybe we have negative feelings about them. But, Great Aunt Lucy left me her rocking chair or some item, and even though we didn't love Great Aunt Lucy, we've got that rocking chair that she used to sit in for hours a day and rock and watch her stories on TV. Remember that? Anyhow, and if that item is there and you've got negative energies or negative associations with that, it can create negative energies. So maybe it's time to let that go. And another thing that can create a losing streak is if you've brought in ashes to your home. This could be ashes of a loved one, like cremation ashes, and ashes of a pet, a deceased pet. This is something that's a really hard topic to talk about, and I know it's really difficult for people who have those ashes in their home. Your home is a home for the living, and once you bring in ashes from cremation ashes, you're bringing in that energy of death, and that can create a house that changes from being a yang and living home to start to turn negative. And when a house begins to turn negative, like from ashes, it can create problems with jobs, relationships, you name it. So look around. If you have any things that you have that sort of death association with, it can be. I'm just not going to name them all here, but there are things that have a death association with them, and ashes being the number one thing. I had a client who had several pets and kept holding on to the ashes, and her relationship was having difficulties, and the husband's business was having difficulties, but finally she was able to get him to let go. It was him that didn't want to let go of the pet's ashes, and it's like they've gone, they moved on, so should you. And put those ashes in an appropriate place at a mausoleum, or go spread them somewhere where that your loved one would have loved to have been. So those are important things to think about. Is anything associated with death needs to be removed from the house. And I know that's hard because I've had clients whose children, the remains of their children, it's very, very difficult to part with, but you have to, because you have to move on, and the house is for the living. The other thing is open your mind. Many times that when we have problems happening in rapid fire succession, we start saying, what's next? Or we start thinking real negatively, or we become over judgmental, or even feel depressed. Those negative thoughts are a spiral that only goes in one direction, that's down. So one of the ways to create a shift from negativity is to keep very close tabs on your mental like and dislike thoughts. Any judgment, negative thoughts, and feelings just draws more negativity toward us. And if anything, it's important to try to remain neutral and positive. Act friendly. It draws more friendliness and positive responses to yourself. Try to put on your best and friendliest face. Compose your face, my grandmother used to say, which is like wearing a slight smile at all times. And my son always says, Mom, you always come out of places smiling. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to walk around with a big old frown on my face, looking like I'm pained, going around places. I find that when I'm friendlier and engaging, the world is friendlier and more engaging with me. And sometimes just that mental shift from having a negative look, or not engaging with people, or looking friendly, or being friendly, can make all the difference. Even judgmental thoughts of other people, walking around going, well, she looks, well, that was dumb, and why does he say that, and what a stupid thing to wear, and who would drive a car like that? If you're constantly on a hamster wheel of judgmental thoughts, that tears you down, not them. Tears you down, and it can create this sort of underlying self-judgment. So watch those thoughts, really important. Lastly, let's talk about bringing up the energy. So important to bring up the energy in your house, and that means adding maybe some red colors, brightening up your place. Make sure that you don't keep the blinds drawn all the time and it's dark and depressing. We can get into this sort of negative state where we let clutter build up. We keep the blinds closed. Try to think of yourself as having rituals around. I call it Downton Abbey. Downton Abbey your house. Go, shut all the windows at night and draw all the shades and the curtains. And in the morning, open them all up. Throw back the curtains. Make some coffee. Turn the lights on. It's reactivating your house every day. And the other thing that you can do for yourself to stem that loss is get some flowers. Flowers are the yang expression of a plant. They are the happiest. Those are the happiest version of a plant. It's the smile. It's the way plants smile. And I think it's a beautiful way to activate some energy and add some positive and beautiful growing and beauty into your home. All right, well, today's episode was all about getting off that losing streak. Let's talk about those 3 tips for the day. This is tip number 1, which is when you have a losing streak, check your time feng shui. Check and see if the monthly feng shui or the annual feng shui, something has come to your front door or your bedroom, because both of those places can create losses if you have an annual affliction that hits it. And once you start doing time feng shui, you'll get into a groove where you look at it naturally. Again, that really made a big difference for me. And one of the things that I noticed is life didn't come without, the road of life didn't come without bumps in the road. It just made the bumps smaller and smoother. So it was a lot easier once I started using time feng shui. So if you want more information, definitely check it out at my website, redlotusletter.com, and just do the search bar for annual, and you'll get all kinds of information. Number 2, always check your bedroom. Look around, make sure that there's no flaws, no problems, things aren't cluttered or dirty, there's no cracks in the walls, that your feet aren't lined up with a door or a bathroom. Very important that you have a good view. You have a nice solid wall behind you, a nice solid headboard, and you can see the door ahead of you. If the door is behind you, it can create a constant loss, and always the other shoes dropping kind of feeling in your life, and you don't need that. Make sure that your bed is on the wall that enables you to see the door from the bed. Number 3 is focus on the flaws. Fix broken things. Look around. Sometimes people have a tree or a shrub that dies right by the front door, and it seems like all of a sudden things just started turning bad and things started having problems. Look and see if there's anything dead around there. Maybe you have a big leak somewhere in your house. Look for things in disrepair and fix it up. Fix up your house. Redecorate, repaint, clean it up, declutter it. Makes a big difference when you look around and look for flaws. It's an interesting thing how, like I said about the one man that had the job loss, and he noticed that a crack had been developing on the wall opposite the foot of the bed. All right, there you go. Get off that losing streak. You can do that. Just get your yang energy in motion. Start working on your house. Start looking around, changing those thoughts. Think positively. Check your time feng shui, and I guarantee you will get your life moving in a very positive and new direction. All right, well, that's all we have for today. Have a terrific week. I'll talk to you on the next episode of 5 Minute Feng Shui. Have a great day. Thanks for listening to 5 Minute Feng Shui today. Feeling stuck in your life? If you're tired of the slow lane and you want to start making changes in your life today, head over to redlotusletter.com to sign up for my free 4-week e-course, 28 Days to Prosperity. You'll get daily lessons on how to get unstuck and create financial flow in your life. So go ahead, what are you waiting for? Sign up.